So welcome back, friends. In the last video, I left you guys with a choice of number 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the sections of this beautiful red Douglas fir. Well, I told you I was going to go back in and do Mrs. W's washing machine. Well, I went in there and I got all suited up to do it. And I realized there was a big dent in the side of it that must have happened during shipment. So I don't want to install it, so we contacted the company that we bought it through Costco, actually. So we contacted them, and hopefully they'll take care of that for us. So I don't want to install it until then. So then I came back to the shop, and then I thought, well, I want to finish the shelf today, but I told everyone I was going to do it the next day, and so I chose for you. That's what I'm trying to say. I chose for you. I chose number 4. So if you chose number 4 also, you have good taste. All right, let's go take a look at it. So this is what number 4 looks like on the back side. This is the side you didn't see. Remember, this was the one that had that kind of that cool looking contrasty black stain. A little bit of that over here on this side, but I just love that deep red. There's some pitch pockets in there, some little strips of sap that are going to give us some trouble when we're planing, but that's just kind of part of it. They tend to kind of get stuck on the bottom, and you have to kind of keep cleaning it off. But it's pretty clear. We've got a small knot right there. We'll cut just this side of it, so right around this area. But I think that that's going to be just a beautiful piece right there.
Back through the years I go wandering once again, back to the seasons of my youth, and I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, and every piece was small, and I didn't have a coat, and it was way down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, sewing every piece with love, and made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of. Money, but I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. So with patches on my breeches and holes in both my shoes, in my coat of many colors I hurried off to school, just to find the others laughing and making fun of me in my coat of many colors my mama made for me.
So let's take a look inside, see what type of colors come out here, but I think it's going to look really, really good here. I think that is it. I just planed down till all of the saw marks were gone, and I don't see any. I'll bring it up here, you can see it closer. It's really pretty. So that looks pretty nice. I really like those colors. It's kind of interesting that black came out of there. It must have been, it looks like it was close to the bark there. Maybe it just kind of leached in, but it's still just a little bit of a dark stain there. It looks nice. There's some on the edge as well. And then there's the back side that we saw today. It should look about the same. So let me square this up really quick. I'll get this planing done. And then, well, you know, overall, it's kind of a boring thing, even though it is pretty wood. It's really cool to have wood in your home that's from your area. You know, I like that. You know, I guess I've never really warmed up to oak. I mean, I really appreciate oak, like at an English oak from an English wall, you know, paneled walls or sailing ships. So, you know, I think that's really cool. It's totally appropriate. I never liked it up here because it doesn't grow up here, and it just seems odd to me. I like to have furniture and things around me and floors and things that are, I guess, as much kind of mimic the natural elements and trees and plants and stuff that in the area as we can. It's kind of cool. So welcome back. It's actually Friday morning on the eve of Sabbath. Hope you got your house in order and everything ready. I know we look forward to it. Mrs. W has a special, we're having Swedish meatballs tonight. She always does a special dinner for us on Sabbath evening. So here what I've got is just finishing up the other side, smoothing it, and basically just getting it down to the, or getting the sawmill marks out of it, which were really deep right here. But boy, I got the plane running good. It's like I feel like the plane and I are like this well-oiled machine here. I've got the depth setting right, and I got the sharpness right. And look at how it cuts. It's just beautiful. It's been the best planing experience I've ever had. I was just here, just totally, really getting into it, zoning out. Working with a tool that I didn't grow up with and really understand, and finally getting it tuned to the point where it's actually good. Is a pretty cool experience, but it's a long row to hoe to get to that point. There's such a learning curve with sharpening. Now we had a similar design in the coffee table that I built. Remember the live edge from the sawmill slab? And one thing we did on the edges that gave it so much character was putting that little bevel on there, like that. And maybe even a little bit more extreme than that other one. We'll have to start, see how it looks, but what that will do, and we'll do the same thing on this side, is it'll bring those 2 points together, and then they'll come down like in kind of like the way a crown molding would be. I think it's going to look really, really nice. I don't know what this angle is going to be yet. Let's just kind of start planing and then see how it comes out and what's pleasing to our eye. So this is what I ended up with, and it came out, what looked good to me was about a 15-degree angle on both sides. So you can see they kind of come together. I think for the size, that was about right. All the end grains, everything all hand plane. It really came out good. It looks really pretty. Of course, we just have a little flat bevel on the back right there, but this will be a nice sized shelf right here and ready for the brackets. So let me get my fingerprints off here, and then I'll show you how we chamfer the edges, because the key is there's nothing that looks more amateur than rounded over corners where someone takes all the hard edges off with sandpaper. I like the sharp, clean look, but this is actually so sharp from the plane that it's almost would be uncomfortable to the hand. It could actually cut someone. So we'll just put a micro bevel on there where you really can't hardly see it. But it takes that edge off and also makes it much more durable, so that we're less likely to snag on something and to tear a chunk out. So let's put that on first, and then we'll put our finish on, which is my favorite part. Little Lee Nielsen plane. This is my favorite plane. And hold that at about a 45. And this is just going to take a little tiny microscopic, well, not exactly microscopic, but you can see a tiny shaving off there, knocking that edge off there. And you can feel the difference already, but it's still too sharp. So usually what I'll do is I'll line this up, and each time you take it, it's going to go deeper in the wood and cut a little bit more off. What I found is usually 3 times is pretty nice. I think this turned out really nice, and I'll tell you what, that steel wool has put the most beautiful finish on it. It just has a polish. It almost looks like it has a finish on it. It took all the little furries and the fuzzies off, but that looks really nice. I like that angle. And so also what I did, which is, you won't be able to see here, is I put a slight radius on the face. So it actually kind of imagine it tapers down just a little bit, very subtly, about, I would imagine, if you took a 10-foot piece of rope and put a stake around it and did a circle 20 feet in circumference, it would be kind of probably follow up roughly that, maybe bigger. So it's really subtle. This is the top. I chose the ugliest side for the top because that will be what we won't be able to see it. It'll be up a little bit high. And there's nothing ugly. It's just got kind of an interesting pitch seam in there. The prettier side is on the bottom right there. It's got the color in it. But everything is smooth to the touch. It feels really nice. But this is the best part. So I know I've been a linseed oil guy for a long time. But the last few things that I've made, I've started using Danish oil, and I like. Let's wait till you see this on here. Actually, I'm gonna go get a cloth there, and we'll do it a little bit better angle. I absolutely adore a Danish design. We have a lot of Danish-inspired furniture in our home, and the clean and simple lines really appeals to me. I like the American craftsman style as well, especially the shaker style. You know, it's so elegant in its simplicity. But the Danish is more, I guess, a little bit more whimsical, a little bit thinner, and really pretty stuff. Same with the Scandinavian. I mean, they're very much very similar. This is really looking nice. I like that. Really like that arch on the face. I don't know if anyone will ever notice it, but you would notice it if you were looking down on it from on top, but probably not from the way we're gonna. I'll know it's there. That'll make me feel good about it. Now the good part. This is the bottom of the shelf. This is the pretty side here. This will really look at that. Looks so nice. I'm excited. I can't wait to build the brackets about it. I've been kind of thinking in my head how I wanted to make those, and I was laying awake puzzling about it, but I think I have it figured out. So I'm looking forward to making those. I'm really looking forward to trying the new the new attachment for the forge to see if that helps out with getting a hotter fire. All right, I couldn't be happier with that. That is so pretty. That turned out so nice. Doing that radius, maybe you can see it a little bit better there. That subtle radius there really did it for me, and that 15-degree angle I think is very nice. The thickness of it, the dimensions of it are all just it's beautiful to me. It's just very pleasing to the eye. And what's fun about this is that this is something, I had so much joy doing this and had so much fun kind of doing everything traditionally by hand. You could go sort through the lumber pile at Lowe's or your Home Depot and pick out a pretty piece of framing material. Sometimes I see some really nice ones in there for, what are you going to have into it? Less than $10, and build yourself something like this with just some basic tools. What did we use? Just a hand plane. And I've shown, in previous videos that those cheap hand planes, if you tune them up a little bit, they can do pretty good work. It's a great project. When we were let me grab a chair. When the last time we went to Sweden, there's a province in Sweden called, probably butcher this, is it Mura? Mura. That's where they make the iconic, the small Dullahest horses. And it's a beautiful area. If you ever get the chance to go there, it's kind of centered around this giant lake. And you can imagine, the Scandinavian countryside is with the rocks and the rolling. It's beautiful. And that's this lake, and all of the homes, to make things even better, are all the same color, and they're all really dark pigmented red. And that's traditional. There was, if I remember right, there was a mine, or there was some sort of, anyway, they had an abundance of this pigment, and that was just how it started, and it's been that way for hundreds of years, and people still do it today. So when you come up over the hills and you see these iconic, beautiful little Swedish homes with the red and and the white trim. It's pretty incredible, actually. But the reason I'm telling you this, while we were touring, there was this guy that was he was just a woodworker, and he had his home, and upstairs, kind of right next door in one of these red Swedish buildings, he had a second-story workshop that was probably, maybe 4 or 5 times the size of this one. It wasn't very big, but it looked out on these true divided windows. It looked out on that beautiful scene and all of the red homes and the lake and all of that. And his job, and granted, they lived in an area that was probably heavy with tourists, and they come through in the summer, was to make these charming little wind vanes. You've seen them before. People buy them, putting them in the garden, and there's like a Jack and Jill, pumping the old well pump, or the guy chopping the wood. He had several varieties of these, and everything was all handmade, and they'd been making them that way for hundreds of years. And we were there in the off season, so he took me up there, and fortunately his English was very good. That's another nice thing about visiting Sweden, is if you don't speak Swedish, all the Swedes speak English, so it's very easy. So he was showing me all of, I was looking at his carving tools and his hand tools, things that were, and this was a business that had been handed down to him generations old. They still had all the tools, and the workbenches, you could see that just over time and use have just gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. It was really, really interesting. But the thing that dawned on me was what seemed to me a very idealistic life. He didn't have to commute. He didn't have to travel anywhere. He'd get up in the morning and start his wood stove and have breakfast with his wife, and then walk upstairs and work quietly in his shop, making these little windmill things. And people coming through, and he's selling them directly. There's no distributor or anything. And I thought, man, that sounds like a pretty good life. I'll bet he sleeps well at night with not a lot of worry or care, like so many of us carry around, right? But it's easy to get nostalgic, and it's human nature to desire and obsess over the things that we don't have. And oftentimes when we get them, we just start to despise them, right? So familiarity breeds contempt, isn't that the term? So yeah, I would imagine maybe you get a little bit boring, and sometimes you might wonder or wish for a little excitement in the city if that was your life. But I don't know. Anymore, the older I get, the more I enjoy my solitude, and the more I enjoy this. And sometimes I think, man, maybe I'd just sell all the cameras and come up with some nice furniture designs and just work in my shop like that guy in Sweden, and sell my things to people if they wanted to buy it. It does kind of sound appealing, doesn't it? But then we wouldn't be able to have these videos, and that wouldn't be any good. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, have a happy Sabbath, and we will see you guys. We're going into Portland this weekend, and then I'll probably see you on Sunday. We'll get back. I'm anxious to forge these brackets, so we'll do that next. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the thumbs up if you haven't already. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys on the other side.